This is episode 16 of Hoops Forum, a joint effort of Radius Athletics and a Quick Timeout podcast. I'm Tony Miller, and I'm joined once again by my co-host, Randy Sherman. Good to see you again, Randy.
Thank you. Good to be back. We missed last week, so I'm excited decided to team up again and get the conversation going.
Yeah, me too. Fun topic today, too. Before we get going into that, though, big thanks to our sponsors over at 323 Sports for sponsoring Hoops Forum. We've talked about this long enough. Camp season is here. At least it's almost here for our program. You need T-shirts. Your campers want them. 323 Sports has you covered. They have a moisture management one color print tee for $6.99 a piece. Your campers will love them. So make sure that you check those out at 323sports.com, or you can contact a sales rep, sales@323sports.com. They'll be sure to do it right for your sports program. The big news this week, the NFHS announcing that beginning with the 2022-2023 season, a 35-second shot clock will be permitted in high school basketball games by state association adoption. Just to be clear with this, high school associations, they're not required to use a shot clock, but it'll be up to the state associations to decide whether or not, and then most schools can either go in or not go in on this. By the way, this isn't completely new. You've got states like California, Maryland, Massachusetts, New York, North Dakota, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Washington, quite a few states that to some degree already use a shot clock, as well as some of the major high school tournaments that you watch on national television use shot clocks. And so I'm at the college level. I use a shot clock. I think a lot of us watch NBA games and know about the shot clock. But Randy, kind of your initial thoughts with this as far as how it relates to the high school game?
My initial thoughts is, the winds of change have been blowing around this for a little while, so it seems like in the past handful of years, almost annually, another state has decided they were going to do it, despite it not being recommended by the NFHS, that they were going to do it anyway. Georgia is doing that. Arkansas approved that. So there's been sort of like this growth curve of states doing it. Now they'll be able to do it with the, National Federation's blessing. So, I think, the winds of change have been blowing. So hopefully, coaches are preparing their minds to coach under a shot clock, because it's probably coming. Some sooner than others in some locales, but I think it's probably coming eventually.
And we'll get to that in just a few moments, kind of how to prepare maybe your teams for this. It's an idea that even as Randy and I were talking before this, I think it's something that coaches have talked around a lot, and some are in favor, some negatively opposed to it, sometimes negatively opposed to it because of what the cost maybe factors and personnel. We're not really going to get into that side of it, more sticking to what's going to happen on the court.
Yeah.
My initial thought with this, I said it in the intro, but a 35-second shot clock, I'm not sure it's going to change a whole lot. And there are certain aspects of the game that we'll address here. I saw somebody say most teams can't maintain possession for 45 seconds without losing the ball anyways. So that I don't necessarily know that 10 less seconds is going to change a whole lot of that. I've heard of small, a small number of coaches using this as a game strategy. I think I don't know if this is proven or not, but I think the idea, maybe you can speak to this, Randy, it gives smaller teams or not as good of teams a chance for an upset.
You mean not having a shot clock?
Right, not having a shot clock.
I suppose it can in very rare instances, but they're out there. But
I think it goes to the point, like the better teams are at some point going to come out and pressure you.
And I think it seems like the story always goes like this. Like, we played this great team and we held the ball and did all, we're very patient and we almost got them. We were down, we lost by 6, and if, still goes in that L column. So, good job, I guess. But, you didn't get beat by 50, but still goes in that L column. So I think I would look at the 35-second shot clock, and I was talking about this with some coaches in my membership chat. like if you drive like a school bus or a semi truck or something, there's what they have on it, what they call a governor, meaning it can, you can't drive that thing 100 something miles an hour. Like there's some mechanism. I'm not a mechanically inclined person, but there's some mechanism that limits how fast that vehicle will go for the safety of the passengers and whatnot. Right. So, this is almost like the whatever would be the inverse of a governor, right? Like you can only go so slow now. Like you can still play ball control. I mean, at 30 seconds, we still get a team like Virginia in college basketball, like at 30 seconds. So you can still play tempo control, patient basketball if that's what you like and what you think fits your team and what you think gives you the best chance to win. You can still you can still do that. So you see examples of it all the time. I think what this does is give sort of an expected number of possessions in a game, at least a minimum, if you will, of that that a coach can expect to have to be able to play. 35 seconds will probably just exist in the background. You won't notice it for most of the possessions, and it'll probably really only impact end of quarters, end of half, end of game. That's really it.
Yeah, the idea that teams are just going to hold the ball, and that the comments you see here at the bottom, like they don't all lose.
No, they don't. You're right. And I said that. I said I hear it occasionally working out, like I do. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I think that's the argument that you can find an exception. There's outliers to everything. I mean, that's life operates on a bell curve. So
and with the shot clock, that right's been taken away from you, and you'll be okay.
Right. I did see this quote: forcing these athletes to play faster and beat the clock could result in a sloppier game rather than a fast-paced and smooth game at the higher levels. Do you agree with that?
No. I would say coach them up. I mean, you've got some new constraints. Coach them up. Get teach your team to get good shots and play with. That's on the coach. If they're that would be my view on that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's transition to that. This is the portion of the show.
14-year-old French girls can do it with 24 seconds on the shot clock. I think us big bad Americans can probably figure it out, right?
Right. That's exactly right. All right. So this is the portion of the show called Beyond the Scoreboard, presented by our partners over at Sideline Interactive. By the way, during the month of May, this is something coaches need to listen to this. They have a deal, $6,600 plus shipping for a 10-foot scoreboard. And I have heard, this isn't just like hearsay, but you get partnership deals with other sponsors in your community. I've heard of multiple schools making $10,000 or more in a year. So this thing immediately pays itself back, and then you get pure profit after that. But this is only a deal that runs through the end of this month. So if you're interested in that, visit Sideline Interactive. We're going to have links at the bottom that you can click on, but just an incredible deal with them. So beyond the scoreboard here, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the obvious differences with game strategy. We already talked about one, just holding the basketball, but there may be some not so obvious strategies as well in regards to playing with the shot clock. Does anything come to your mind immediately, game strategy wise? I guess the first question I should ask: did you ever coach in this? I know Texas doesn't.
No, we don't. We didn't have one in Texas, and still don't. I did coach in a couple of summer events back in the day, like at team camps and things like that, where it was used, and just to kind of keep the games on. You're at one of these events that run on a tight schedule, so they use the shot clock to sort of keep the games on schedule, and a few times, but no, I have not.
Okay, so like strategy wise, what comes to your mind here with a 35-second shot clock?
I think, like I said, the biggest thing that you'll probably notice would be end of quarter, end of half, end of game, where, I'll watch a lot of high school basketball with my clients, and you'll see a game where, there's team will get a defensive rebound and there's like a minute 11 on the clock on the game clock, and the coach starts, hold it, last shot, let's get last shot, the minute and 11 seconds. Like that's now removed as an option, or I think that that's now removed as an option. The idea that the end of game, you've got to keep making plays rather than like, okay, well, we'll just dribble around with, they'll foul us and we'll go make our free throws. This to me ensures that you've got to keep making basketball plays, keep running good offense, keep running good sets, have good possessions to keep and maintain a lead, instead of it just being a free throw battle and hold the ball. And to me, that's the best argument for shot clock, is just player development. If my team has to keep making plays in order to win, instead of doing the stall game or making free throws, if my team has to keep making plays to win because of the shot clock, then that makes me have to go back in my gym and do what? Be a better coach, develop better players who can make better plays. Like I can't depend upon not playing not basketball to win the game. Like I have to keep making plays, which good. Like that's who ought to win, the team that keeps making plays.
I saw an argument for potential for more zones. Do you think that will be kind of the outgrowth of this?
I mean, it could be. I think you don't see high number of teams playing zone at the college level. It's mostly man to man. There's a few out there that jump in and out of zone, some that play it exclusively. So I don't know. I think we didn't have a shot clock where I coached. So as a result, I played a pressure style man to man, on the line, up the line. Sort of my thought was, our defense is your shot clock. We're going to speed you up with our pressure. We're going to make you drive the ball, not maintain it and pass it around all day. So we use pressure to force tempo with our defense. That's something I might think about dialing back a little bit with a shot clock, because I have this external constraint upon my opponent to they can only piddle around so long now, and I'm okay, but so I think that might be something for me personally that I might look at about what I taught and what I believe in, would be with a 30, 35 second or 24-second shot clock. I might not be so aggressive on the defensive end with all the denial, trying to force tempo with my defense, because I got the clock that's governing it for me to a degree. So I might be a little bit more compact and protective on certain passes and things like that than I was with our pressure style defense.
So I'll just give you the best lessons that I've learned for playing with the shot clock. And this is with,
experience.
For 10 years, you start manipulating things, and the comments have already come in. This is just the big schools whining about it, and so we have a shot clock. I would say from the small school that is outmatched in most games that it plays in, that using the shot clock and using it to your advantage, and how you can use it to your advantage, can be a great asset. So I'm actually the reverse of it, and saying that if we didn't play with a shot clock, there would probably be some things that tools out of my hands that I don't have now, that helps trim off. I am constantly, as a smaller school, less talented a lot of times, I'm constantly looking for ways that I can shave off points here or there. So when we talk about, like, for instance, blobs and out of bounds plays, like, my thought process is that's 6 or 8 more points that maybe my team can get. I'm not thinking really big. I'm thinking like 2 or 3 more points. It goes to the same thing with the shot clock. So for instance, we will a lot of times use a press. And again, inexperienced coaches think press, you go faster. But what you just talked about there, you can use a lot of presses. We'll use, for instance, our 2-2-1 press. And our 2-2-1 press is done simply nothing more than basically just containing and shaving seconds off of a shot clock. So by the time they get across, we're playing with 30 seconds. So it's a little bit different. But by the time they get across, they're already down to 21, 22 seconds. Then I get into the half court. Now this goes back to my zone question, something that I would encourage those of you to think about. So if you can shave off 9 seconds with some sort of contained press defense, then you're left with 24 seconds or so. You now set back into a zone defense. And something that we've done is we've played several passes in a zone. And after those several passes, we'll switch over to a man, or vice versa. You could match up in a man and then switch over to the zone. And just by switching your players, I guarantee at the high school level it will happen, because it happens at the college level where the players are better. The high school players won't know what to do, so they'll pull the ball out. They'll look over to their coach. Their coach, from now having set man plays, they're already thinking about pressing. Now you got them transitioning to half court. They're thinking about, for instance, a man play. And now after 2 passes, you switch to a zone. You better believe that those players are going to be looking over. The coach is going to be now switching, trying to communicate a zone play to somebody. And now all of a sudden you have 8 or 9 seconds left on the shot clock. So for me, that controlling tempo through starting the beginning of a possession through a press to a man to a zone, you could very easily on multiple possessions be forcing the opponent to basically play within about 7 to 8 seconds every single time. I think that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some benefits out there that those that are opposed to it aren't seeing because of their argument and their stance, and that they're maybe overlooking. So those will be learned in time. Like I work with coaches that are high school coaches in shot clock states, and I've yet to meet any of them who are like, yeah, I hate this dang thing. I wish they would have never done it. Most of them like the game they coach with a shot clock. Even some of those who were opposed to it before it came to their state, who are like, I was wrong. It is better. I do prefer it now that I've, I would say, I think the bias here, Tony, is that, like, if Naismith would have invented the game with one, and it's like what we knew already, it would be like, yeah, shot clock. We wouldn't even, like, there would be no like opposition to it or any controversy about it. But because it's a change from what already is, the bigger picture is not, I'm not anti-shot clock, I'm anti-change. Right. That's really what we're talking about here, in my opinion, of if it was just born that way, if you will, like if the game was just created that way with it in there, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. There'd be no talking points, or everyone would be used to it, well adapted to it. It'd be part of our considerations when we make coaching decisions, and it's really that it's a change that we, as a lot of people, are hardwired to resist. They don't like their schedule to change. They don't want their, they're very routine and like things the way they are, and sort of like that's probably more what it is.
So how does this, as a game strategy, how does this change how a coach practices and even prepares their players?
Like I said, I think now we've got to keep making plays. I think so, which that should be your guiding light anyway. I think as an end of game strategy, some things matter more. Like, we've got to keep having good possessions. We've got to stay on the attack. We can't just sort of like, we got an 8-point lead with 4 minutes to go in a high school game. You might as well just go in your car and go home. It's pretty much over now. It's not. So you've got a chance. That's another thing that, all right, a guy who feels he's, out of games because of a talent deficiency. Now you've got a chance this team's got to shoot the ball. They can't just go to play the free throw game. So, yeah, end of game strategy. You've got timeouts that you can use to get better possessions. Those aren't going away. I really don't see it being that different at that pace of 35 seconds. If you wanted to talk about strategy, I suppose you could start, thinking about, okay, we've got to have like an early clock, middle clock, late clock game in our offensive strategy, where we're trying to create an advantage in the first part of the shot clock. Maybe we get a second or third attempt at that in the middle part of the clock, and then late clock we have like a go-to thing. You see a lot of teams do a head tap or something like that to at the end of the clock we have to do something to generate a good shot. So those are some things I guess you could think about. I definitely think with a 24-second clock you would, but 35, I mean, come on.
It's not going to happen a lot, but to your point, the composure of just feeling the pressure of seconds ticking off of a clock. And for some reason, as I observe, like at end of a half, a lot of times or a situation where people aren't used to that, they just start going haywire. Their form on shots goes out the window. They just start rushing passes. And so composure, decision making, which is a big theme of our show, is like teaching your players to make better decisions at the end of a clock. The fundamental skill work, I think the argument of this is just going to speed the game up. I don't know that that's true, but with a sped up game, your players better be more fundamentally sound.
It probably won't speed it up. It'll just ensure that it can only go so slow.
Right.
Like you still get Virginia with a 30-second shot clock. You still get coaches who do that who are very deliberate, and that's fine. To each his own, right? But like you can still do that. That's not been removed from your menu of options. I've always told coaches that having a shot clock will make you a better coach. If you're interested in being a better coach, you should be for the shot clock, in my opinion. Just my opinion. But it will make you a better coach, right? Like now when we run a pick and roll, or we run a screening action, or we like, even like, especially like say if it was 24 seconds, even more so, but like now we can, you see teams just running like, a continuity offense, just side to side to side to side to side, side to side to side to side. And like, they're not reading the screen. They're not assessing what the defense is doing to use it to make an advantage. They're just basically doing it until the defense messes up and they score, right? They're scoring because you're bad, right? In 24-second shot clock basketball, we're probably only and probably not so much at 35, but like we're only going to get 2 to 3 attempts at setting a ball screen or setting an off ball screen. So now I have to make sure my players can recognize what opportunities that action gave them. I can't just do it ad nauseum without really teaching the granular level detail of how to use those actions. Because without a shot clock, I can just, it doesn't matter if my kids are great at it or not. We can just do it and do it and do it and do it until someone messes up. Well, now you've got to be able to read the defense and get what little grain of advantage that might be there out of that action, because you're only going to get 2 or 3 shots at it. Mm-hmm. So you got to become a better teacher of those things. That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm. We practice something very practical. We practice things with shot clock. We practice drills with shot clock. So whether it's a small-sided game and, an 8-second shot clock, a 10-second shot clock, something like that, just so that the players feel the pressure. And
my rule of thumb was when we played 1-on-1, it was with a 5-second shot clock. 2-on-2, 10, 3-on-3, 15, 4-on-4, 20, 5-on-5, 25 are up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just gives them, again, a situation in which they're forced to make pressure decisions while still executing fundamentally sound skills or plays or whatever that is. So that would be my one main practical suggestion for you. Any kind of last second big thoughts on this? I know you gave, the thought about making coaches better, but anything else?
I would say that we're probably going to be a long time away from where this is like in every state and in every, just all that happened with this release that you shared and was now basically the high school federation just sort of left it up. Used to be there was a penalty, you lost membership or voting rights if your state went against and implemented a shot clock. Now there's not. But they voted no to make it like a universal coming from the National High School Federation mandate that all. Now they just sort of kick the can down the road to the states. I think some states, depending on the progressiveness of their leadership and the way their coaches and their membership in their states will adopt it right away. Some, it might be a long time coming. I would say, we're probably not going to get everybody playing with it in one fell swoop, like maybe people fear. But I would say my advice to anybody would be be ready, so you don't have to get ready. If you're against it, that's your prerogative, and that's fine. Reasonable people can disagree, but it's probably coming. So, be ready so you don't have to get ready when it does.
I think it's one more move towards unifying our game. I'm all in favor of that.
That's
summer wanting wanting even a shorter shot clock. I want quarters in a college basketball game. I think not everything is going to be made at once, but at least we're making small strides for it. So I'm in favor of it. And
there's not going to be consensus on this. Though there are coaches who are against it, and they have their reason, and some of those reasons are valid, and that's fine. I can disagree with someone and honor someone else's point of view. I do it all the time. So there's not going to be consensus on this. So I think even if you're in the camp that is against it, and it goes against you in your state, and it comes, you're still going to have to adapt to it. So not everything goes our way, and you'll be okay. And you might, like I've said, I've spoken to several coaches who were in states that had it or didn't have it and now have it, who at the time were against it, who were like, yeah, it really is better. I really didn't know how icky our game was without it until I have it, and I'm glad we have it now. So leave your mind open to that possibility also.
Yeah, good point. Appreciate all of you who joined us this week. If you missed any part of the live show, you can go back and watch these, stream them on YouTube, Radius Athletics YouTube page. Make sure you go back and check that out. Even if you're not looking for this, Randy's got a lot of great other resources there, so go subscribe to his YouTube channel. If you want the audio version, just search A Quick Timeout, and you'll find the audio version of the show there. For Randy Sherman, I'm Tony Miller. We'll talk to you again next week on Hoops Forum.